Good morning. It is my favorite day of the week. Of course, it's a Waffle Wednesday, and I actually have hope that we're going to do some waffling today. I have one scenario that I need them to waffle on. Let's get into it. If you don't want any BB28 live feed spoilers, now would be a good time to scroll on. So, as I talked about last night, Dee has decided that keeping Drew is what's best for her game. When we left off last night, they had kind of squashed this plan, Angela, Devins, and Dee. They didn't think that this was going to be a good idea because they didn't think that they could get other people on board that they work with, especially those in the red corner, since they are in power this week and they're worried about them getting power next week. But there was a little bit of an almost red corner meeting last night. It was pretty much everyone in red corner minus Kamu, but also throw in Angela. And in this conversation, they were talking about voting scenarios. And they were talking about who is kind of coming after who. Dee and Devins were just dropping little nuggets of information here and there. Some little thoughts. They were talking about how at one point, Devins pointed out, so let me get this right. If Lyric wins head of household, she would be coming after some of us. If Melody gets head of household, she would be coming after all of us. And then if Drew gets head of household, he would be coming after none of us. Those are things that we're trying to decide on. And they were all like, yeah. And then they move on for a little bit longer. And then out of nowhere, Haley suggests that, hey, maybe since Drew is not coming after any of us, we don't evict him this week. Maybe we actually keep him because he doesn't know that he was the target. He doesn't know that he was going to go home. We've been telling him all week that he is safe. Maybe we just keep him this week. What a great idea, Haley. Oh my gosh, you are the smartest person in this house. That's essentially how that meeting went. And now we are back up on keeping Drew. Dee also let Barrett know last night. Devins had a conversation with him as well after Dee let him know. Barrett did a good job acting excited about this. I think that he probably has some mixed emotions though, because he has gotten very, very close with both Melody and Mallory this week. In his assumption that Drew would be leaving. So we'll have to see kind of how he navigates those conversations today, especially with Mallory, because Mallory is not very happy with Drew. Mallory's just going through it this week. Lyric has thrown her under the bus repeatedly. Even yesterday, she was still doing it, even though she promised she wouldn't. And then Mallory has heard that a couple of times Drew maybe shared some information or said some things about her that he probably shouldn't have in a game sense. And so between those two, she's like, I don't freaking know who to vote out. She yesterday was leaning way more towards keeping Lyric just because she feels like on a personal level, obviously she has a good friendship with her. And then she just knows that she can't really trust her on a game level. So we'll have to see where Mallory kind of feels like going. I, by the way, am still voting Mallory for the next week's time capsule. I've been seeing some creators say that they don't think Mallory should be voted that because she's having a tough time, and if she gets a punishment, it might send her over the edge. Completely and totally disagree with that sentiment. There is a lot of pressure on Mallory right now that she is kind of somewhat placing on herself, but also because she knows that the other side is coming at her and coming at her hard. And she knows that one of the reasons they're coming at her is because they have all convinced themselves that Mallory has a power and she doesn't. And so she's like, I'm being targeted for a power I don't have. I have zero power in this game, but I'm being targeted as if I have some. If Mallory gets a punishment, that clears her name from having any powers because they can only get those votes one singular time. So if she comes out with a punishment, her name is cleared. That takes that off of her back. Here's where I need the vote to flip. Is basically what they landed on last night in that meeting is essentially we split up Melody and Drew, but ultimately keep Drew. So here is the red corner overall consensus on voting scenarios. But here is where Dee's voting scenarios would be. And this is actually what I want to happen. I want Lyric to be out over Melody, but I still want Drew to stay. I'm really just honestly kind of hoping that Melody can win the Blockbuster. I don't know if that's going to happen. Actually, no, I think it would be better if Drew wins Blockbuster. Just because I think that there is a possibility where they vote and just like say, oh, we were confused on what the plan was. Also, I kind of touched on a little bit of this starting last night, but in my Thog update last night, a lot of us were kind of wondering, like, why is Haley talking about Dee the way that she is? She has switched her Mean Girl sights onto Dee. This shit talking continued on last night. She was saying that she was talking to Kamu, and number one, she was saying that she would choose Angela over Dee any day of the week. She also said that Dee is on her nerves because she can't separate her emotions from the game, and she's sick of her trying to make emotional decisions. She also said that, and this is the most egregious, I'm warning you now, that Dee is just like Chuck because she cannot come up with her own ideas or plans. Mind you, the idea of Drew staying this week was all because Devins and Dee were planting little seeds and throwing them out there, and you bit onto it real quick.
Shut the fuck up, Haley.
Let's do a quick Waffle Wednesday check-in, and honestly, I think that there's potential for some more overnight shenanigans to happen, so make sure you hit the follow button, and I think there's gonna be some things to chat about in the overnight update. I really don't think things have changed that much from last night, from what the collective group of the Tool Shed, or not even really the Tool Shed, Red Corner plus Angela is more what it is, agreed on, which is that essentially they're hoping to save Drew, but they also ultimately want to split up Melody and Drew. Now, in Dee's mind, she wants Drew to stay no matter the scenario. So even if Melody were to win Blockbuster and it was Lyric and Drew on the block, she would want Drew to stay in that scenario. And there was a moment last night where she had gotten most of them on board for that. But then Kamu and Haley talked about it more, and that's not the case currently. But Dee is not very happy with Kamu changing the plans. She wants her plan to be the one that they stick to. We'll see if it happens, because I actually think that Devins is on board with the plans as it stands. And I do really think that she's going to need him bought in to make sure that this happens. Melody has done some campaigning today. I saw her have a conversation with Angela. If she had any conversations with Dee and Devins, it was not shown on the feeds. And there have been some times intermittently throughout the day where those like two sets of people have been missing from the feeds, but they were also missing with other people and they could have been napping or whatever. Like, there's no proof yet that Melody has chatted with Dee. And I feel like if Melody would have the conversation that she had with Angela, with Dee and Devins, that would really, really help give Dee the push to try and make this plan happen. We'll just have to wait and see how things go tonight. The only other kind of like game situation that has happened today is Haley approached Taylor about a Final Four kind of alliance situation between her, Chuck, Taylor, and Yash. Taylor and Yash talked about this, and they decided they're going to agree to it for now, but they're turning on them as soon as they can. They can't stand them. They don't want to work with them, and they don't trust them. Other than that, the feeds haven't been as boring as yesterday, because they've actually been like playing some games and doing some skits and whatever, but there just hasn't been a ton of gaming yet. But we'll see how it goes. There's been a lot of miscommunication between Red Corner plus Angela today. Angela's also mentioned to several people that she feels like her voice is not heard in her alliance. And I think that a lot of people are reading this as her saying that about the Red Corner situation. I actually think she is saying this about Dee. I think that this Drew situation with Angela being on board and then not being on board, and then Devins and Dee kind of like convincing Haley and them that this is their idea to get them on board, I think it has rubbed Angela the wrong way. And I would not be surprised if she doesn't start kind of jumping ship and attaching even more to Thog. So tonight, they have the Have-Nots ending. They'll have a Have-Nots feast. Everyone will be up late for that. People will also be more energized. Devins and Angela both are just not feeling like doing anything today until after they eat. So that's why I'm thinking we may have some more things to chat about in tomorrow morning's overnight update. But let me know what you guys think. I'm hoping for a miracle here.